Who doesn't like a good wedding episode? Apparently me. Hey everyone, my name is Americ from HappyCool and welcome to a brand new review of The Mentalist Season 6 Episode 3 titled Wedding in Red. Now before I start, I first wanted to thank you guys for all the amazing comments on my last two videos, the last review and also the Red John description analysis that I put up. You guys just had amazing insights. I had a ton of fun reading all those comments. If you haven't seen those videos, you can check them out over here or the links are going to be in the descriptions below. Now back to this episode. Now, before I jump into what worked and what didn't work in this episode, let's talk a little bit about the story. So the story goes like this. Jane and the team go to Napa Valley to try to solve a murder tied to a wedding. At the same time, Jane and Lisbon are trying to figure out whether Sheriff McAllister is indeed Red John. In the end, the murder is solved. It was one of the guests. And Sheriff McAllister is not really confirmed to be Red John. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Van Pelt and Rigsby got married. What? So, what worked? I have to say the whole Rigsby Van Pelt wedding elements was just cute. Overall cute. From the first scene where you see Van Pelt with Rigsby's son and all the way to Van Pelt just laying bare her soul and Rigsby really taking that in to the proposal, to the wedding. It was all cute. I have to say usually I don't really like all those wedding scenes, but in this case I'll make an exception. It was cute. It was adorable. A side note though, why was Patrick outside of the wedding ceremony? I didn't quite get that. Comment below, let me know why. Another thing that worked in this episode was the interaction between Sheriff McAllister and Patrick Jane. Like I said previously, I don't think Sheriff McAllister is Red John, but I almost wish that he were because I really like the chemistry that Patrick Jane and Sheriff McAllister have on screen. They bounce off each other very well. It's just, I wish it was him. I wish it was him. I don't think it was him, but I love those scenes together. Let's move on to what didn't work. First off, let's talk about the convenience of suddenly there being a departmental policy that allows the fact of those two getting married. I feel that was a bit easy because you have all these seasons where they're saying they can't be together because of departmental policy, and then as soon as they decide to be together, there's a departmental policy that appears out of thin air saying, hey, you know, if you want to hook up and there's no like hierarchy issues, go ahead. You want to get married? No problem. We don't mind. Apparently, all the liability issues that were there before don't exist anymore. Didn't quite like that. Thought that was way too easy. And let's admit it, the case was not interesting. I was bored. I was bored. I'm sorry. The suspects were not compelling. The methods were not compelling. I guess they could have just dropped the entire case altogether. We really didn't need to have this entire thing happen all throughout. Yeah. Ugh. Also, can people stop taking Patrick Jane hostage? It's the second time this season that Patrick is taken hostage by the suspect that he's just uncovered in front of everyone else. I mean, have we learned nothing from the previous episodes in which this happened? If you're gonna confront a suspect, don't leave Jane alone in front of the suspect. This just seems, they really need to stop that. I know why they did it, because it kind of showed that Sheriff McAllister was not really afraid of heights, but it wasn't, no. Also, I have to say, I know this is the season where we're catching Red John, so I'm a little bit saddened that this episode was very confusing on the RJ front. In the last episode, we had this huge bombshell revelation about Sophie Miller essentially profiling RJ, and we're discovering all these things. In this episode, where they're talking about RJ's phobia, which turns out to be agoraphobia. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Americ, it's not agoraphobia, it's acrophobia, the fear of heights.
Sorry? Yes guys, I made a mistake. In my last video, I said it was agoraphobia, but it turns out to be acrophobia, which is the fear of heights. This fear of height was not even questioned as a fact because I don't think Red John has a fear of heights. And if he does, I don't think he would tell Sophie Miller, because why would he? He's lying about everything else. Why would he be honest about this? It didn't feel quite authentic, and even at some point, Jane mentions that. But that's the only time they mention it. Then the rest of the episode they spend it trying to prove that Sheriff McAllister has a fear of heights, and in that case it's him. I think it was thin. It was very confusing. Is that a legit phobia? Is that not a legit phobia? And if so, why was it brought into this episode? It was very confusing. I didn't quite like this whole thing. Now this brings me to the WTF section of the review, in which I ask myself a few questions based on what I've learned in this episode. Now, if Sheriff McAllister is not RJ, and if this whole phobia thing has nothing to do with fear of heights, then maybe it has to do with the fear of pigeons, which is what some of you mention in multiple comments across the board, because it keeps coming up. In last episode, there was the whole pigeon feeding thing. In this episode, there's the whole pigeon scaring the sheriff. So maybe the answer is Red John has a phobia, and the phobia is ornithophobia, which is a fear of birds, and in this case, pigeons. Possible? Yes. Lame? Surely. Maybe it's the case, maybe it's not. I guess we'll find out. Another thought that came about was the fact that Rigsby and Van Pelt are together, and we know the two actors are actually gonna leave at the end of this year. Tells me that one of them or both of them are gonna get killed. I'm sorry, it just feels like they're setting it up to be super dramatic, and I actually even thought that it might happen in this episode, but yeah, I don't know. As soon as I saw them getting married, it's like, one of you is gonna die, or both of you are gonna die. I don't know which one it's gonna be, but yeah. So I don't know if you saw the preview for the next episode. Kirkland is actually kidnapping Patrick Jane and interrogating him about the list. So I'm like, if he's doing that, then he's not Red John. Is he? Is this a dream? Is this real life? Oh, so many questions, so little answers. Anyways, as you guys can tell, not a big fan of the episode. I did like all the Rigspelt wedding bits, so that was really cool, but I didn't quite like anything else. Whether it was the case or the RJ bits, I wasn't crazy about this episode overall. So for me, a bit of a miss. But enough about me. What did you think of this episode? Comment below and let me know. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you're new, make sure to subscribe because I review The Mentalist every week. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye.